It's time for the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome into another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, where we break down District 1 and 2 athletics most weeks here in the great state of Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney, and today we are going to bring you our winter sports season recap conclusion extravaganza, which means it's time for another edition of the Scaggs Awards. And here is the man himself, Ryan Scaggs.
Yeah, you'd be the only one applauding for me.
That's not true. That's not true. We've had a lot of people up north say really nice things to both you and I in emails, in face-to-face conversations, and elsewhere. So
no,
don't even.
Yeah, no, we're super blessed, I think, to be kind of in the position we are as far as just talking high school sports in the state of Idaho. And I think obviously the recent run of success in the winter sports season has made it easy to say good things, I think, about most programs, but they're about us even too. But I think, you know, hats off to Paul and you and the rest of the crew at Idaho Sports for a crazy last 3-4 weeks leading up to both state tournaments, state wrestling included. So yeah, it's but you guys did a masterful job with the state tournaments. And the broadcast, I mean, they're second to none. So I'm gonna toot our horn a little bit, but I think we do a pretty dang good job.
For sure. And we last week on the Prepcast, or 2 weeks ago, we kind of recapped all the girls' state basketball action and everything that happened. And then if you were looking for some of that state wrestling stuff to quench your thirst, we did our last episode of the season for the Matt Chat Prepcast. We did that last week right before boys state basketball, and we hopped on and broke down all of everything that happened at state wrestling and all the storylines, and took everybody's comments. It went almost an hour. So you can subscribe to the Idaho Matt Chat Prepcast or find that on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page as well. So that's going to be kind of your state wrestling recap there. And then we're going to talk, what happened at state and boys basketball. And then also, I jokingly call them the Scaggs Awards, Ryan, but it's really your All-North Idaho accolades and teams. And this year, you've even taken it, or this season, you've taken it a step further and you've split it into large school, small school.
Yeah, I think it's just because and I did it for that reason, just because we have so many dang good teams and players in North Idaho. And I mean, it showed, obviously. You look at the success that North Idaho had. I put it on Twitter last week, was like, if you look at the overall success of North Idaho, man, I mean, like from top to bottom with boys and girls sports, and you throw wrestling in the mix too with winter sports. I don't know if there's District 1 and District 2, if there's another area of the state that had the level of success that was seen up here this winter. And, and there could be a little noise made maybe for District 5 or District 6, but at the small school area. But I mean, you look at what accomplished over big bad District 3, like really, other than Meridian getting their state championship in wrestling, there wasn't a lot of noise on the basketball court.
In fact, District 3, just to recap, in boys basketball, didn't win one, right?
No, I don't even know if they won one.
No,
did they?
No. So they didn't.
Melba girls, and that was it, right?
Yeah, they didn't win a championship, and only 2 District 3 teams even qualified for championship games. That was Melba, of course, who lost to Bear Lake in the 2A championship, and then Meridian, kind of the plucky upstarts that got to play Lake City in the championship game. So I guess that we should probably start there. That's the biggest story from boys state basketball is Lake City, first title in school history. Yeah. We had talked about all weekend at state, head coach Jim Winger, one of the great coaches in North Idaho, but also the state of Idaho.
He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, really, if you want to look at it as far as career path and record, like the guy is a shoo-in for the Idaho Athletics Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and he had crossed the 400 career win mark earlier this season, and we kept talking about, the one thing that's missing from the resume is that state championship, and it was great to see Coach Winger and the team come through with the victory. They ended up defeating Meridian, a game that was close for really 2.5 quarters, and then in that third quarter, midway through, Lake City really turned on the afterburners. But I'll tell you what, Meridian was hot in that first half, man.
Yeah.
They came out shooting well, and Lake City, to their credit, never really panicked. And the same thing happened against Madison in the semifinals, where Madison came out and gave Lake City their absolute best shot. And the Timberwolves never panicked like they maybe did against Centennial 2 years ago.
No, I was going to say, it was more the I think that's where you see the maturation of Lake City. Was that, you watched them last year when they came into the first round of the tournament, and they drew Centennial, as coming in as the 1 seed to, last year as well. Instead of playing to win, they're playing not to lose. Like, you look at them and it was really tight. I didn't really see that from them this year in the state tournament. They came in, they had the target on their back. I mean, everybody's given them their best shot game in and game out. But, Lake City weathered the storm. They did play some tight games, especially for, 3 quarters, and most of their games were relatively close. But then you look at what they did in the fourth quarter. They're like, no, we know who we are. We know what we've done, the extra morning practices and everything else. They've grown as a team and as a unit. And really, I think the thing that weathered the storm for Lake City was the cohesiveness of that group. That they could rely on each other. They knew that like a Nathan Hawking was going to show up and shoot lights out in the fourth quarter. They knew that Colton Mitchell wasn't going to turn the ball over. They knew that Blake Buchanan was going to get some big stops on the defensive end of the floor. They knew Zach Johnson was going to take the best scorer from each team and usually shut him down. So, there was, and then you get like Deacon Keesby, who comes out of nowhere and goes off for double digits. So, I mean, that's kind of icing on the cake for that team. It was that you look at all the efforts of the individual, but it was the parts added up for the whole for that team. That may be one of the most dominant programs we've seen in the state of Idaho.
Yeah, and that was the talk. Certainly, obviously, Blake Buchanan was the MVP of the boys state tournament, double pretty much every game. Really was the one constant, like Colton Mitchell would have a good game, and then in the championship, he was kind of plagued by foul troubles. And, Kisby was really hot in the semifinals, a little less so in the championship. The MVP of our championship game, actually, the IdahoSports.com player of the game was Nate Hawking, because, even though Buchanan scored the most points, to me, Hawking's baskets came at the most critical time in the third quarter when Lake City finally started to pull away.
Well, that's been kind of his MO a little bit during the season too. If you watch some of their biggest games, was when he hit the clutch shots when, Blake's drawn the double down in the block or Colton's getting locked down and handcuffed around the perimeter. They're able to get it in the mid-range, and Hawking comes out of nowhere and usually either hits a mid-range jumper or he drives the lane and gets a bucket and a foul. I mean, that's kind of the MO of that team. And Hawking, I think, is an unsung role player. Everybody looks at Blake and Colton, and rightfully so. I mean, they're great basketball players, but you talk about the glue guy, right? The kind of one of those terms that you hear, that might be Hawking. I mean, he's the glue guy to that program that kind of brought everything together. He was that extra piece that they needed. And I mean, obviously on the transfer last year, but what he added to the program was, look at it now, you get a state championship.
Yeah, it was a pretty remarkable run for Lake City, certainly. The next biggest story from state boys basketball, you look at all the other teams. Lakeland went down and went 2 and out at the 4A. St. Mary's had a good run to the semifinals where
St. Mary's and Kellogg both had that
run.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. And then they ended up meeting up in the third place game at state, which was kind of cool. To me, though, the next biggest story has to be the Lakeside Knights in that.
I told you they were the ones that were going to push Lapway, right?
Yeah, we had been talking about that ever since that January matchup in Lapway that you went and called for us on IdahoSports.com. And you said at the time, look, Vander Brown didn't hardly play because he was in foul trouble, and it was close, and it was
a 13-point game. Yeah.
What a wild game that was between Lakeside and Lapway. I lament the fact that I wasn't able to watch it in person. I was covering I got to watch Rockland and Water Springs play in the 1A D2 third place game while that epic battle was going on. But by all accounts, it sounded like a fantastic game. And Lakeside
it was a heavyweight title fight. I mean, you look at that, what an amazing ball game.
Lakeside wins 81-79 in overtime, and we the broadcasters that came from out of town to Boise to broadcast all stayed at this shared Airbnb. And so I was talking to Josh McGauley, who was on the call for the 1A D1 tournament Friday night, and talking to him a little bit. And I'm like, all right, we got the matchup we all wanted, Lapwai Lakeside. What do you think? And he looks at me straight faced and goes, I think Lakeside's got a really good chance to win this game. He said, Lapwai kind of struggled in their semifinal, and Lakeside just seems to be playing really well. He goes, it wouldn't shock me at all to see Lakeside win. And so what a tremendous accomplishment for Coach Two Teeth and the Lakeside Knights.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that game too, and just they got, and it was something I sent a message to Coach Wynot and Coach Eastman from Lapwai, like, hey, hats off on an amazing run. Don't let the one game kind of taint what you did during the regular season on an amazing, streak of 62 games in a row. Of like, doing that anywhere is so flipping hard. And regardless of the sport that you're in, and your kids responded night in and night out, taking the everybody's best shot. And you go into that championship game and they found themselves down at 1 point 23 points, and they responded and got that thing to stink in overtime. I mean, most teams would have mailed it in if you're down 23 coming out of halftime. Like, it's like, all right, fine, wave the white flag, but those kids didn't quit. So I'll give Lapwai credit, like, that they continued to throw haymakers and they got some big shots. The biggest thing I look at that game too is that Vander Brown and Kase Wynot got hurt late in the fourth quarter, and they stayed on the floor. They didn't leave the floor. And Kase, I don't know how, I talked to his dad after the game, and it's yet to be seen how bad that injury was, but they're talking possible Achilles type thing. But I mean, you talk about Warriors, they just wanted to be out there and win and just will their team to a win. And 29 points out of Vander Brown, but the supporting cast around him. I mean, you look at Brutus Sijon, you look at Liam Hendricks, Tyson Charlie. I mean, there's that team's not going anywhere either. They're graduating Vander, but they leave the core nucleus. There's 4 starters coming back next year of key contributors in a state title game. And Lapwai obviously has Kase. We could see a rematch next year very easily. I mean, that's the crazy thing about this group. But Coach Two Teeth, I mean, you talk about getting your team to buy in and respond. That was an unbelievable, masterful performance. They came out and punched Lapwai in the mouth early, and then they just kept their foot on the gas the entire game. They did not let up. And, I said in January what the difference could be if Vander Brown stays out of foul trouble, that, it's a 13-point difference and Vander is good for a 23 average. That's a different ball game if Vander's in that game. I mean, and you look at it at state, that's what we saw. And we got the fans got what they paid for with that game. That was, like I said online, it was one of the best high school games I've ever seen. That was an unbelievable game, and just the effort. You looked at, Lakeside was almost too tired to celebrate at the end of the game just because they were gassed. So, that's the type of game that was.
Yeah. And basically what I was told from our broadcasters was Lakeside had the strategy of, as soon as Kase Wynot touches the ball, we're sending 2 to 3 guys at him.
Yeah.
We're going to make somebody else beat us. And despite that, Kase Wynot still scored 40 and had a very smart heads up play at the very end of regulation where Lapwai is down 3. Lakeside is attempting to foul Wynot before he can put up a shot to tie the game, because if you make 2 free throws, you're still down 1. And Kase Wynot very alertly just kind of
hucks it up,
trying to foul me. I'm going to just throw it up, and got the call.
He got the call, and that one was a 50-50 call too. I mean,
Right.
I want to give our officials in the state the benefit of the doubt, but that one was iffy. But everybody that was there was like, yeah, I don't know, but we get bonus ball, so everybody wins. But
Right.
Lakeside could have had a legit beef there that they could have won that game before. Those free throws shouldn't even have happened, but
Right.
they did, and we got an amazing game out of it. But yeah, that was, man.
For sure. Let's talk Kendrick. Kendrick was another team from North Idaho. North Idaho won half of the titles, right?
Yeah.
When you look at Lakeside, Lake City, and Kendrick, they get to the championship as the 3 seed. And I don't know that people were expecting Kendrick to be there. I think it was more of a, oh yeah, Richfield's the 1, Rockland's the 2. Here we go. And
I just said seeding's going to make a difference. And going in that, I think I picked Kendrick to make it to the title game, but
yeah.
I didn't know if they were going to win it. I really did think Rockland was the team, and man, it's just that was a tough bracket. And you look at how it was and how it was built, and Kendrick to do what they did. I mean, they got exactly what they needed to get a state title. And Nathan Tweet, man, like that kid is, I said it in football because I saw him come in and I'm like, it's Ty Kep 2.0, but he's taller. And, on the football field, they're going to have some special things brewing down in Kendrick because that kid's only a freshman. But yeah, to get the state tournament MVP as a freshman, the last person I saw do that was a kid by the name of Kase. Why not? So, is he going to be as good as Kase? I don't know. That's yet to be seen, but that's definitely putting yourself in pretty good company.
Yeah. So congratulations to Kendrick. They beat Richfield, the 1 seed. Kind of a close game, but Kendrick is able to withstand a furious Richfield rally to win that contest. Congratulations to Coach Tim Silflo.
Yeah.
I know he tunes into the podcast every week. So
yes,
Coach Silflo, very nicely done.
Ty Kep's probably watching in class right now. So
right. So and it was cool to see it from a different perspective. In football, they came into the championship as the overwhelming favorite, and this time they came in as the underdog in the basketball championship, and they delivered. And so good talent in Kendrick for sure. Real quick, I want to talk about St. Mary's and Kellogg because they did play really well.
Bonners Ferry too.
I know. Yeah. I wanted to save them for last because that was. But real quick, Kellogg and St. Mary's. Kellogg gets the first round upset, quote unquote, over Coal Valley Christian. I think Coal Valley got boosted up because they were in the same league as Melba. Yeah. St. Mary's, when they're playing Melba in the semifinals, starts off 4-0 Lumberjacks. Then next thing you know, it is 22-4 Melba.
They were in a hole, like they were down big.
Yeah. Melba scored 22 unanswered. And then, I'm broadcasting the 5A tournament, so I'm not paying attention. And then I look and I see the final score and I'm like, St. Mary's only lost by 4?
Yeah, no, and it was down to the wire. Yeah, that was, I thought St. Mary's was going to push them. I didn't know that they were going to come out of a 20-point hole to do it. And, that was, hats off to Grayson Sands and Dylan Holder and Tristan Hill and Renner. Like those kids on that team, they just play so dang hard. They love playing together too, that they wanted another shot to be in the title game. And it was evident. That was a good Melba team they took to the ropes. And then they came in that 3rd, 4th place game and flexed on Kellogg again and sealed the deal with a 3rd place finish. So, coach chasing that team, like, that's what I think in a worst case scenario, that's the best worst case scenario you can get with that program and the season they had, especially losing Grayson for a stretch, where kind of people were wondering as well as, the wheels falling off the wagon necessarily. And man, they responded big, and hats off to the Lumberjacks, because that was a great finish. And, they had Melba on the ropes. They really did. At the end of the game, they left themselves a chance to be in there and find their way and will their way to the title game, but just, couldn't overcome that hole that they kind of dug. But that was a great 2A was a fun bracket to watch. It really was.
Yeah, Paul Kingsbury was on the call for all of those 2A games on IdahoSports.com, and he basically said, you can stop one Luna twin for Kellogg, but stopping them both, good luck. Yeah. And it was pretty cool. I did see, we put together these statewide scouting reports, all the media members from around the state contribute, and then we all share it together. I did notice from the Coeur d'Alene Press in their scouting report of Kellogg that the Luna twins are they going to walk on to the University of Miami football team? Did they get scholarships?
No, I think they got preferred walk-on offers.
Preferred walk-ons?
At U of M and also Oregon too, I believe. But yeah, no Scully offers. I know there's been some D2 offers, but I think they want to travel together. I haven't heard necessarily see them commit hard to Miami, but I know that there's been an offer out there for a preferred walk-on.
Okay, interesting. I saw that and it kind of perked my ears up. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty legit. Yeah. Cool. All right. And then Bonners Ferry. To me, I wanted to say this for last because what an amazing season they had. This to me was the most fun to watch, more so than Lake City, more so than Lakeside. Watching Bonners Ferry compete all year long was such a fun thing to watch. And unfortunately, they learned a hard lesson that everybody else in Class 3A has learned, and that's Sugar Salem is so freaking good at everything. Why can't they ever let someone else win something?
Yeah.
Gosh.
But you look at that Bonners run and it was so quiet, like people didn't start to notice until about 2 weeks before, state tournament time. Like, oh, there's a team from North Idaho. There's another team with only like one loss, and it's not Lapway or Lake City. And you kind of quietly look at it, and that Bonners Ferry team's sitting right there, and they run the table, and for a large part of that season, and to roll into state with the accolades that they had, they'd earned every right to be that 1 seed. And I look at the core nucleus of that team. There's a lot of that team coming back, and they're going to be. It's a team that, if there's a Sugar Salem, foe out there that's got a giant searchlight target like Batman signal, it's Bonners Ferry next year. I think that Bonners is going to be the team that's going to respond. You look at Asher, Williams, Ridge. There's all these kids coming back that are on that core group, and gosh dang, that Badger team is going to be dang good next year. And they're going to make a lot of noise, not just at 3A. I think any classification, if you're a team, they're going to get some invites to some fun tournaments too next year.
For sure. So that's kind of what happened at state boys basketball. And from there, Ryan, let's transition into your All-North Idaho teams. I figure we'll start with boys basketball just because that's what we were talking about. And then we'll circle back around to the girls. So you've separated this into large school, small school. And so we'll go with the large schools first. This is 5A, 4A, and 3A only. And your MVP, no surprise, Blake Buchanan of Lake City.
Yeah. I mean, Blake had a great season. And you look at there's other guys that may have led in scoring or whatever, but you look at the body of work and what Blake's done. As far as a game changer, your MVP is the guy that walks on the court and you have to account for where he is at all times. It's Blake. And so, yeah, he's my MVP for the large schools here in North Idaho this winter.
And then in addition to that, you've also kind of mirrored what the Inland Empire League does. They give out a coach of the year and then a newcomer of the year as well. They're the only league that I know of that does that. And I think it's kind of cool. Very college-esque. Coach of the year for the large school division. We just got done talking about him.
And this is 5A through 3A. Yeah.
Yes,
so
right.
5A through 3A and then 2A through 1A D2. So I got Nathan Williams at Bonners Ferry, and that's no slight to Coach Winger and what he did with his group. But this Bonners group, I think, came so far out of left field that people didn't realize how unbelievable of a job Coach Williams did at Bonners Ferry. He absolutely is deserving of my Coach of the Year because I think he did more, and I don't want to say more with less because I don't want to slight the kids because they work so extremely hard. But I think for what they did in the time frame they've done, I know that they thought they were going to be successful in the next couple of years. I don't want to say that they showed up a year early, but with the core that he's got, Coach Williams did an unbelievable job this year with Bonners Ferry and is absolutely deserving of my large school Coach of the Year.
Yeah. And then if we take a look at your newcomer of the year, this is, I don't know if it's freshman or sophomore, but it's
freshman.
Typically a varsity newcomer.
Yeah.
Coeur d'Alene High, Caden Simmons.
Yeah, Caden Simmons is a kid that you're going to see for a while. As long as his mom and dad are still here coaching, I don't think she's going anywhere. And hopefully his dad doesn't get hired away at a bigger school because he's doing a great job at NIC. But yeah, Caden had a great season for a freshman. He showed up and showed up big in a few games. I mean, especially that North Central game. He was a big time role player in that North Central game early on in the year. And then you look later down the year, down the stretch, he was averaging, close to double digits, hit some big threes. And, yeah, just a great season for a freshman in 5A basketball. The kid's he's going to be legit. He's a player.
Yeah. And now if we take a look at your first team, now this is the one spot where I take exception. All right. Five guys. 5 guys is what it should be. You're like the Big Ten. The Big Ten announced their all conference.
Pac-12 right now it's like 13 people on the first team.
Yeah, they have like 8 guys on the first team. I'm like, what in the world?
Okay. Yeah, maybe I did.
You pretty much every team you sent me, there's more than 5 people, but
yeah, it's hard.
You're so generous. You have a gracious heart. So we're gonna show the across the bottom here the first team for the all North Idaho.
So it's team, right? It's not just 5 people. You have to have a couple guys come off the bench to make a team as well. So this is my first team.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, they're scrolling across, and you go ahead and take us through.
Yeah. So I got Asher Williams from Bonners Ferry, Alex Nip from Coeur d'Alene, Nate Hawking from Lake City. I mean, come on, it's Lake City. 4 of the 5 guys are on the first team or MVP. And then Carson Way from Lewiston, I think, is one player that kind of gets overlooked a little bit because they play in the same conferences as Lake City, but had a great year for the Bengals. he's a threat, and he showed it in that game against Meridian. The play-in game, had a great game as well. But I look at this group, and I'm like, we're playing schoolyard ball. These are the guys, if we're all lining up, that I'm going to probably choose to be on my team first round. So absolutely, I think all these guys are extremely deserving and played. They all had great seasons in their own right.
Yeah, and if you are watching this on the IdahoSports.com, YouTube channel, you'll see that we are putting these up on the screen. But you're going to put these, or maybe you already have. If you put,
I haven't put them on Twitter yet. They will be on Twitter. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to give the premiere here before going to Twitter.
That's good. I like that marketing. It's at Idaho Game Night on Twitter. You'll have the teams there as well. All right. Break down your second team for us.
Yeah, so I got Braden Blackmore from Bonners Ferry. Has it disappeared? Let me open my
Sorry,
notes.
I forgot to there you go. Now it's going to scroll like the ticker.
Perfect. Cooper Larson from Coeur d'Alene. Scotty Hawking, the hot hand for the Lakeland Hawks. He found his way onto the all-tournament team at State. Had a good showing down there, but a good season for the Hawks. Neil McCarthy and Alex Shields, I think, are two guys that you're going to have to keep an eye on for the next couple of years for Post Falls. Neil McCarthy, the point guard, is a fun player to watch. He is a ton of fun. He's feisty and gives a great effort. I think he was definitely deserving on a Post Falls team that struggled at times, but found a couple big wins during the season. Alex Shields obviously being in that mix, as well as a couple youngsters, and then Rusty Lee from Sandpoint rounding out that second team.
Yeah, it's a good looking team to be sure. Let's take a look now at your small school awards. This is 2A, 1A D1, 1A D2, MVP. No surprises here.
Kase, why not, man? You're averaging 35 a game and 13 rebounds. You've had, what did he have? 9 triple doubles on the season. He had a quad double, I believe, at one point this year. Yeah, districts. So, and he did the quad double in 28 minutes of play or something like that, or 27 minutes. So, he's your MVP.
And again, I was
drop, case closed.
Kase, nice play on words there. Case closed.
Yeah, case closed.
That's going to be the title of our
with a K. Yeah, case with a K, closed.
Case closed, and should I put closed with a K as well, or C?
I don't know. It's up to you.
As long as we don't have another word that starts with K in there, I think we're going to be all right in terms of that's all right. Anyways, I digress.
He's not from Camia, so I mean, as far as the K and the K with the
yeah. Anyways, we don't
not
need
anything else.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Coach of the year, James Two Teeth, Lakeside. Let me quickly pivot out of this here.
Yeah.
Lakeside.
So James Two Teeth, I think with what he did with that group, and here's the deal. In my list too, I had Tim Silflo right there too. I think they both did amazing jobs with their groups. Two Teeth had a great run with Lakeside, and just what he was able to do in the situation that he was in, facing Lapway twice during the regular season, a little bit of adversity with scheduling and stuff like that. The schedule that they playing a bunch of 2A and 3A teams. Yeah, he's my coach of the year. Coach Two Teeth did a great job with the Knights, and hats off to another state championship for him. And which might be, I don't know if it's his swan song because he wasn't going to coach this year, decided to come back. We'll see if he shows up again next year with that group.
Yeah, so I think it was 2 years ago he wanted to retire.
Yeah,
and the kids
after Kenyon Spotted Horse graduated, and
and they kind of talked him into coming back, and hey, we'll take him as long as he wants to do it for sure. Newcomers of the year, you've got 2 here, and I think this is one time where I'm like, okay, this
it's legit. I mean, It's hard to choose, right? You got Nathan Tweet from Kendrick and Tyson Charlie from Lakeside. Like, you look stat-wise, they're like almost dead even points per game. Rebounds per game is like within 0.5. Like, their stat lines are so close. They're going to be really, really good players. Tyson had a great game against Lapway in the title game, had another great game against Lapway earlier in the year. Was a difference maker when they switched to that box and 1 against Lapway we saw in January. That kid was hustling hard on the floor, all over the place. And Nathan Tweet from Kendrick, Nathan Tweet is a stud. You look at him as an 8th grader, he would have had the fastest 1A time in track in the 400 in the state, and he was an 8th grader. So what this kid can do as an athlete is unbelievable, and we're just lucky that we get to be along for the ride to watch the maturation process of this kid from Kendrick.
And he was the guy who made the winning play in the football championship game as well, intercepting that pass right at the goal line as Dietrich was trying to go in to score. And so what a story there. All right, your first team for the small schools. Go ahead.
There's dudes. I mean, you got the Luna twins, Ripley and Colby, Jagger Hewitt from Kendrick, Vander Brown, Terrell Ellenwood Jones from Lapway, Jackson Valls from Potlatch, and Grayson Sands from St. Mary's. I want to see that team play the 5A team. Like,
yeah,
you throw Kase on that team too. Like, that is, holy cow, that would be an amazing game just with the athletes that would be on the floor. I don't know if I could pick a winner. Like, really, that would just be, let's make it happen at Christensen Gym at NIC. That would be freaking awesome. But we're going to see a lot of these guys playing in that all-star game here in a couple weeks as well. But, unbelievable seasons from every one of those individual guys. Jackson Vowles is the one kid that I look at on this list that, like, you stop and look at what he did, especially in the state tournament. Like, the dude was on it. Like, he had 37 in a game for Potlatch in the consolation semis. Just a great season for the Loggers. Coming out of nowhere, that Potlatch team quietly just chugged along and upset Kamei in that play-in game and found their way to get some hardware. Like, that's an awesome job. That team's not going anywhere.
Yeah, fantastic job. And then here is your second team as well.
So Everett Skinner from Kamei, Liam Hendricks, and Brutus Syjon from Lakeside, Elias Yearout from Lapway, Everett Lovell from Potlatch, Tristan Hill from St. Mary's, and Dylan Holder from St. Mary's. Every one of those guys is, could be a first teamer realistically. And so that just speaks to the depth of small school basketball in North Idaho. A lot of these guys are going to be back next year too. That, we'll see what happens with another year of maturing and putting in that time in summer. I'm excited. I mean, already looking forward to next year that, I think we're going to see a lot of state champions again come out of the North.
Yeah. As we were putting together the all-star game rosters for the statewide all-star game that's coming to Coeur d'Alene in a couple of weeks, I noticed two things. One, a lot of good seniors this year, but more importantly, man, there's a lot of good juniors that are going to really, no doubt. All right, let's shift to girls basketball now. Your All-North Idaho teams, girls basketball, large school, 5A, 4A, 3A, MVP, the junior point guard from Coeur d'Alene High, Tegan Colvin.
Yeah, she is. She's the truth. I mean, we knew that she was going to be really good coming in. Coach Simmons was super high on her coming when we talked to her last summer. And she showed up, and boy, did she show up in that state championship run, willing the Vikes to a couple big victories in that state tournament, and obviously getting that championship. No easy days for that Vikings team, and they accomplished, everything they set out to do. So, I mean, more than deserving.
For sure. Coach of the year, another champion, Will Love from the Sandpoint Bulldogs.
Giving Coach Love the love he deserves. Like, he's one of the better, not just basketball minds in the state, but he's just such a dang good person too. That it's, you look at the culture that he's building around that program, and the girls want, the numbers that he's going to have coming out to try to be a part of something special that he's building there in Sandpoint. That hats off to him, and more than deserving of the Coach of the Year. And then that's no slight to Coach Simmons. She did an amazing job with her Coeur d'Alene team too. But Coach Love, with what he did at Sandpoint, I think a lot of people didn't come into the year pegging Sandpoint as the favorite for the state championship.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to call that championship game for the Bulldogs for sure. And then we're kind of going 5A, 4A, 3A. We go 3A with our newcomer of the year, the freshman from Timberlake, Malia Miller.
I don't think anybody can argue, though. She's a stud. She's legit, and proved it. That Timberlake team is going to be back. They played for a state championship this year. I don't think they're going anywhere for the next 2 to 3 years. She's a heady player on the floor, just goes hard. She had a great tournament as well at state. Plays beyond her age, and definitely shows up. So hats off, Malia Miller. You are the newcomer of the year.
And now your first team, which I believe has 6 people on it.
Yeah, it's a little smaller in the boys team because it was harder to differentiate on the boys side. But Maddie Simmons from Coeur d'Alene, Avery Waddington from Lake City, Sophia Zufelt from Lake City, Capri Sims from Post Falls, Carly Banks from Sandpoint, and Aaliyah Strock from Sandpoint. I mean, can you argue? Like, that lineup, no. Take that team and run with it, man. Like, you take them anywhere, goes nationwide, and I like that team as far as effort and what they can give. So, hats off on a more than deserving first team honors.
Second team also pretty good. Let me put it so it scrolls here. All right.
I think one player we didn't talk much about Bonners Ferry is Aisha Abubakari. She's amazing athlete, like great numbers. Landry Simon from Lakeland. You've got Maddie Mitchell from the Vikings, Kelsey Cessna from Sandpoint, Zoe Kessinger from Lewiston, Daly Driggs from Sandpoint, and Sierra Sumas from Timberlake. I mean, you can make arguments for those, every one of them, to be on the first team. I mean, as far as numbers and what they bring on the floor. But that's just the nature of the beast here in North Idaho, is that we are flushed with talent right now. Second team, I think, doesn't mean, it's not, I think there's no slight there. Like, it's just like 1A and 1B. Like, all these players here are more than capable of going off for 25 and 10 on a given night, whether it's assists or rebounds. But I mean, there's a bunch of unselfish ladies on this list.
Yeah, really good list, and I'm glad you gave Aisha Abubakari from Bonners Ferry the shout out there. Gearing up for golf season for 3A, and she
would smoke me on the golf course. It wouldn't even be close.
Yeah, Bonners Ferry, the trend will continue with baseball and golf, especially.
They're not going anywhere athletically. That school is on the upward trend. Let's put it that way.
Yes. All right. Now let's go to your small school 2A, 1A, D1, 1A, D2 awards. MVP from the Prairie Pirates, Kristen Wemhoff. I believe second year in a row she's won your MVP.
Yeah, and she's had an amazing year. And I mean, it's the kind of the bookend to a great career at Prairie. And I know that she accomplished something that, Prairie was wanting desperately, and that was a win over Lapwai in a meaningful game. They didn't get it at districts, but they got it at state in the 3-4 game. I mean, or the third place game, because there is no fourth place in Idaho. But yeah, I mean, the Prairie Pirates getting that third place finish and beating a very good Lapwai team that had a great season as well. But what a great career for Kristen and what she accomplished down there at Prairie.
Yeah, fantastic. So as we continue now, your coach of the year, also from Prairie, Lori Mader.
I mean, you take your lumps during the regular season and then you put together a really good run. It's, who you could choose probably 3 to 4 coaches within that conference out of the White Pine League. And you can even throw in like 1A D2 ranks as well between Deary and Kendrick. But Lori just, with that, what she got out of her crew, I think what sealed the deal for me was that showing in the third place game and how dominant they were in that game over a team that had kind of held a stranglehold over them for a couple of years. And what they were able to accomplish was, hats off and congratulations.
Yep. And then we're going to stay in the White Pine for the newcomer of the year. What a great freshman year she had. Jalen McCormick Marks from Lapwai.
We knew about the elder one that they lost, but you look at Jalen, and we knew about Jaden, but Jalen came in and holy cow, set the world on fire as far as a freshman for the Wildcats. That team's not going anywhere anytime soon. You look at the struggle that they had at state in the semifinal game. I mean, shooting really cold and back-to-back nights. I hate to say, like, letting a team beat you twice. And I think that's kind of what happened when they went into that third place game. You're still rattled from the night before. But this Lapwai team I know they will respond, and they've got some good kids coming back. Like the girls on that team, there's depth. Lapwai they're not out of the mix as far as being a contender statewide anytime soon.
Yeah, the McCormick Marks sisters will be back next year. Jordan will be a senior. Jalen will be a sophomore.
Yeah.
Here is your first team now.
Yeah, so I got Araya Wood from Deary. Madeline Green from Grangeville quietly, I think, is one of the better players at 2A. AC Jerome is somebody that didn't get talked about a lot from Kellogg, but had an amazing season. Rose Stewart from Kendrick was dominant for the Tigers. Lauren Gould from Lapwai, another great player. And then Grace Bearden from Orfino, somebody that doesn't get talked about because the team that she's on doesn't do a lot as far as making it to the postseason. But man, she is a great ball player. If you get a chance to watch her play, she can take over a ball game. And, I know she'll be playing in the District 2 All-Star game. I think it's coming up tonight or tomorrow down there in Lapwai. But what an amazing season for her. And those are all well-deserved awards.
Yeah, Grace Bearden from Orofino was the MVP of the CIL, Central Idaho League. Yeah. So congrats there. Second team.
So I got Eloise Shelton from Clark Fork. What was accomplished there, I think, is definitely noteworthy with that team. And you look at the whole of this group is like, man, I mean, this could be like another situation where they could all be first team players as well. I mean, especially throwing like Brittany Phillips from Wallace is another player that quietly up north in the North leagues up here, just night in and night out takes care of business. Shada Edwards from Clearwater Valley is another one playing in the All-Star game down in Lapway. She had a great season. Haley Taylor from Kendrick, another great player. Ariana Javier Gore, who we've talked about on this Prepcast a couple times, had a great season for Lakeside. And then obviously Lexi Schumacher from Prairie, dominant career and a great player for the Pirates.
Yeah, that's a great list that you came up with, and that will kind of put a bow on the winter sports season here in North Idaho. And I know, like you, by the way, I'm personal update. Not that anyone cares about my personal life. I'm still living in East Idaho. We are still moving to Coeur d'Alene. We just got to sell our stupid house here in Pocatello first.
Anybody out there looking in the market in the Pocatello area, please contact Brandon Baney or his realtor. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that selling a home during a recession is not a very smart idea? I'm learning that painful lesson every day. But yes, I will be moving to North Idaho sometime this spring. My wife's employer has been incredibly flexible, and we're very fortunate for that, that she's continuing to work from Pocatello as well. So anyways, with that said, you're in East Idaho. We still have like a foot of snow on the ground. I assume it's the same up north. Yeah.
We got a couple inches still. Yeah. We got some more last night, but it's weird. It's been hit and miss. And then we had like a stretch where it was like gone and then all of a sudden it came back. So spring will be here sometime. Check in between now and June.
Yeah. So with that said, we usually take a break in between the sports seasons, right? We will basically from winter sports to spring sports, take a week off, decompress a little bit. Plus, there's not much going on right now with the weather the way it is anyways. So we'll take next week off, and then we will come back with our spring sports preview extravaganza here.
I will have on Twitter probably in the next 4 days my All-North Idaho wrestling team that I had last year as well.
Yes.
So you can keep an eye out on that. I still have to compile stats and go through all the head-to-head matchups to make sure that I don't have any screw-ups like I did last year about kids complaining because like the second team guy pinned the first team guy like 10 times during the regular season. So we don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, take your time with that for sure. And we'll be on the lookout for that at Idaho Game Night on Twitter. Yep. All right, Ryan Scaggs, as always, thanks for hopping on and doing this. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for tuning in to the North Idaho Prepcast, everybody. For Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks on IdahoSports.com.